Earlier this month, the Chabad movement marked the yahrzeit, the 27th anniversary of the passing of Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, who transformed the insular Lubavitch Hasidic group into a worldwide Jewish outreach movement. And it was not just Chabad marking the day. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was among the many prominent figures who paid tribute to Schneerson. Now, predictions that Chabad might fade or splinter after his death in 1994 have proved unfounded. With its Chabad houses and emissaries omnipresent in every corner of the globe where Jews might be found, it is arguably the most dynamic Jewish religious movement of the modern era. But it does have detractors, those who criticize what they see as an excessive emphasis on messianism, an aggressive outreach approach viewed as veering into a sort of missionizing at odds with Jewish tradition, and claims that it sometimes tries to monopolize Jewish life, even among largely non-Orthodox communities. So on this week's Jewish Forum, we ask, what is Chabad's place in the Jewish world? And we have in our Tel Aviv studio, Rebbah Dr. Mira Neshama-Weil, Jewish meditation, Torah, and Musar teacher. We have Rabbi Dov Halbertal, former head of the Office of Israel's Chief Rabbi, and he's speaking to us from Jerusalem. And we have from the from the Netherlands now, Rabbi Shmuley Boteach, American Orthodox Jewish rabbi, author, and TV host. I'm going to start with you, Rabbi Boteach. You, in a sense, emerged from Chabad. Let me ask you about its place in the Jewish world. I guess one way of saying it is Chabad good for the Jews?
Chabad is indispensable, excellent for the Jews. I'm in Amsterdam right now. I just came from the Anne Frank house where I met with the International Director of Education. I'm actually saying Kaddish for my mother. And where would I say that? How would I have minyanim around the world if not for Chabad? The Rebbe started a global international movement of Judaism that rescued the Jewish faith from almost terminal decline in the wake of the cataclysm of the Holocaust. After the Holocaust, what we Jews experienced was not only the one-third annihilation of our people, but we also were dislocated from the European home, our home in exile that we had had for so long. And we also had this terrible tragedy we could not explain. The net result was massive Jewish assimilation. The Rebbe, through seeding his followers and his shluchim, his emissaries all over the world, including me at Oxford University, rescued the Jewish people from this distance that would have been irreversible. We would have lost millions and millions of Jews to Judaism. So let me just be clear. There are two great visionaries of the Jewish people in the modern era.
All right, well, I want to go to Rabbi Halbertal. Rabbi Halbertal, you are one of the critics of Chabad. In fact, you even tweeted on the yahrzeit of the Rebbe, of the Rebbe's death, Chabad is the closest thing to Jewish paganism, a messianic, missionary, and hardline anti-Zionist movement. As a Jew, I am often ashamed of the coercive ideology of Chabad, whose entire goal is to make everyone their followers. Rabbi, why paganism?
Because the Chabad movement sees the Rebbe as a kind of God. They see him as a Messiah, and they treat him as a Messiah. It's very dangerous. It's not Jewish at all. Formally, they are Jewish, but they are much closer to be to the Christianity, to the Holy Trinity, the Holy Spirit and the Rebbe and God. They are very dangerous, very fanatic, very missionaries, and they are a tragedy, and we have to have care of them. The Judaism, they risk the Judaism all over the world because they make it paganist and the messianic and strange and extreme. By the way, they are extreme, very, very extreme politically. And by the way, they are very anti-Zionist. They are against the state. You will never hear from them a word about the state of Israel, but the land of Israel. So, being against the state very, very firmly, being messianic, missionary, and twisting the Judaism towards Christianity. It makes it paganism.
Okay, I want to go to Dr. Weil. You've heard two very extreme views, differing views there of Chabad. I want to get your take on that.
Indeed, so I'm both familiar with the kind of praise for Chabad and the critique for Chabad. And while I do share, the kind of critique that says, okay, it's become a kind of movement very much centered around the founder, I think I would criticize if I was the one who was kind of offering Shabbat meals to Jews all over the world. I don't feel that I'm in a position to criticize because they are doing a very generous work de facto. Now, the problem, I would say, is kind of maybe another problem, which is, as you said yourself, like the kind of very, very aggressive kind of politics of presence, which sometimes goes into kind of taking the whole space in Jewish spaces where you don't have a diversity of other Jewish communities, can end up kind of fading away the necessary diversity of Jewish communities in the world. And I think it's important that Jews have options, that Jews remember that Torah has 70 languages, and that it doesn't have to be this shita, it doesn't have to be this version. I don't have to dress this way or that way, or to have this kind of, language and, to be a good Jew.
All right, well, Rabbi Boteach, you've heard some criticisms. I want to give you a chance to respond.
Respectfully, I'm going to take the gloves off here. Rabbi Halbertal, I have to say that I am absolutely shocked by your words. They are un-Jewish, they are unkind, they are wrong. Respectfully, they are ignorant. Chabad, pagan. I mean, I've never heard anyone say anything that's almost anti-Semitic. Are you kidding me? Chabad rescued Judaism from non-observance, from complete assimilation. Paganism? We worship the one true God. Are you comparing us to Christians? Are you saying we look at the Rebbe like Jesus Christ, God forbid? Which kind of, this represents misinformation of a degree which is libel. It's just libelous, and it's a lie, and it's a lie. How could you possibly say that? Let me just be clear. You travel anywhere in the world, and Chabad is there to give former Israeli soldiers who traveled to India or Nepal or South America a Pesach Seder, putting on tefillin. Panama and Boquete, where I was, when you see the most amazing thing of former. I have a son who's in Sayeret Golani right now, and if he travels afterward, he's religious. He'll be able to daven because of Chabad. I just came from the Anne Frank house, where I just met here in Amsterdam with the International Director of Education. I'm saying Kaddish for my mother. I can say it here in Amsterdam because of Chabad. I got the meeting because of Chabad. The Rebbe died 29 years ago. It's not 27, it's 29 years ago. He left no money, no estate. He never traveled anywhere from New York in 40 years of leading the movement, never took a vacation. Paganism? With all due respect, you owe Chabad a global an apology to say this on TV. I have to say, if I wasn't so offended, your comments are disgusting, shocking. Pagan, for God's sake.
Rabbi Boteach,
let me also just say
briefly
to say that Chabad should offer pluralistic Judaism. I'm sorry, Judaism has to compete in the marketplace of ideas. People gravitate toward Chabad because it's passionate, because it's orthodox, because it's traditional, and because it's non-judgmental. We don't have to create alternate forms of Judaism that people don't find inspiring, that people have abandoned en masse because they have failed. Chabad is the future of Judaism because it loves Israel. It's not anti-Zionist. That's an absolute lie.
Rabbi Boteach,
I am Chabad to my core, and I fight for Israel day and night.
You have made your point clear. I want to give Rabbi Halbertal a chance to respond.
First, it's a lie. They are anti-Zionists. You can check it after, our conversation. They are really the extremists, anti-Zionists in the Jewish world, anti-Zionists, not against the Jewish. But of course they are all over the world. Why are they all over the with temptations, giving you the opportunity to say Kaddish and giving you soup or something like this, because they are real missionaries, real Christian missionaries. They want to twist your mind to be and to believe the Rebbe is Messiah, and to believe that the redemption is coming tomorrow morning, and to tend you to believe that Chabad is everything, and the Rebbe includes all the souls of the Jewish people and maybe all the souls of the world in him. it's a paganist. You are paganist. You are enthusiastic. You are dressed the same. Even the same hat of the rabbi. You see the photos and of the rabbi in the buses, in the streets, in all of the schools and all over the world. That's paganist. It's not Jewish at all. You worship the rabbi. You see him as a god. You see him as it's a real idolatry.
All right, I want to go back to.
This is beyond the pale. Rabbi Halbertal, can I ask you, if you don't mind? I say this respectfully, with all due respect, if you don't mind me asking. You say that Chabad is anti-Zionist. Have you served in the IDF?
I don't want this to. Gentlemen, no. Excuse me, Rabbi Boteach. I would like to.
You cannot attack Chabad.
This is not
a son with a beard and with tzitzit, who is in the eye. I have a son. Okay, I have a son.
Okay, Rabbi Boteach, I would like you to be a gentleman, sir, and allow Dr. Weil.
Allowing Chabad, calling Chabad pagan and Christian is not being a
Rabbi
gentleman.
Boteach, I'm going to have to mute you. If just to let Dr. Weil respond. Gentlemen, I would like Dr. Weil to have a chance to speak. And there are points here. Chabad does bring Judaism to corners of the world where it otherwise not be. And yes, there are aspects of it that certainly some in the Jewish world are very uncomfortable. So how does one reconcile this, Dr. Weil?
Pagan?
I didn't say that, Rabbi Boteach.
What means to bring
gentlemen, I'm going to have to mute your mics if you do not allow Dr. Weil to speak.
Thank you, gentlemen. I really want to invite us to think about machloket, healthy machloket, and lechaved echad et hasheni, to respect each other. So I'm here apparently to bring a kind of more nuanced opinion, and I want to say two things. One thing I want to say is that I feel, as I'm talking as a sociologist of religion right now, I'm taking the sociologist hat. I feel that there's a difference between the founder of a movement and then the kind of inevitable, what Max Weber called the routinization of charisma, when really the amazing work of one person becomes a huge global institution. And any huge global institution needs cheshbon nefesh, needs to check in on their ethics, on their education, etc. One critique that I have of Chabad is that I feel it gives a lot of power to young people who are kind of educated without so much critical thinking, with a lot of conformism. And I've seen kind of discourses which sometimes felt empty, and also extremely conformist, and again showing just one view of Judaism as very specific view, with, as Rav Halbertal said, like a kind of very specific shita, which can be criticized sometimes for kind of really being around the figure of this wonderful rabbi who the successors turned into a Mashiach, which is contestable. Okay, there is a price to everything. There is a price to everything. I am very lucky and grateful when I'm in Japan that I know I can go to Shabbat dinner, when I'm in Korea, when I'm everywhere, and that happened. And there is a price to it, which is that you have to kind of, at some point you understand that this is the model. And about the openness of Chabad, one thing I can say is that if your mother is Jewish, they will do everything for you. But if you're an intermarried couple, or your father is Jewish, or any kind of nuances which I've seen in the Jewish world, you are not so welcomed. I've heard a lot of people who were hurt, who didn't feel welcome, and I feel this is something that I want to invite Chabad to think of and to take more into account.
Dr. Weil, we are going to have to end the discussion there, and I would like to thank all of our guests for speaking passionately on the subject. Thank you.